Welcome to Builders, the podcast for leaders who want to build great company. I'm your host, Alex Snyder, strategic advisor to world-class builders. This podcast dives into the wild rides and personal transformations that come with pursuing big dreams and becoming a leader who builds incredible teams and companies. Each episode, I'm joined by a guest who helps deliver a fresh perspective designed to leave you feeling less lonely, more connected to innovative ideas, and inspired about growing your business your way. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite channel, leave us a 5-star review, and share your favorite episode with a friend. The podcast is sponsored by Alex Snyder Advisory. If you are a business leader or executive team ready to take your leadership and company to the next level with a high-performing team, we'd love to see how we can rocket fuel your growth. Check out the show notes to book your free Builders Business Booster call, where you'll receive a strategic leadership audit and 3 concrete focus areas to mature and grow your business. All right, thanks for tuning in. Let's build. All right, welcome, Kristina. Thank you for being here with me today. I have just loved your energy from probably the moment we mutually cyber stalked each other and independently decided that we should be friends. I'm so grateful to have met you. And honestly, we've had an amazing, a few really amazing adventures these past couple of years. We've met up in half a dozen places. We've had the privilege of working together, having you work on some of my content. It's been amazing to watch your growth and your evolution. And I could go on and on about you, but all I want to say is that you are so much more than a marketing coach. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself and share a little bit about you and the Elixir team.
Yeah. So I really say I started to fall in love with business when I was flipping stores for major international companies. And I really just fell in love with it so instantly. And I did that for a while and then realized that after I started working with businesses and we had very successful flips from going in the red to tripling their income in less than 6 months. But then afterwards, they'd be like, "Oh God, we need help sustaining this, right? We want to continue on this track." And they started to ask for my help in marketing, and that's where Elixir was born. So we are a 7.5-year-old company, which is so crazy to think now. Almost a decade we've been in business, and there's been different evolutions of us. We started as a full service agency and worked with multi-billion-dollar companies, and now we really honed in on what it is that we love to do, what it is we see the most success with our clients. And that is with coming back to our roots of marketing and consulting and helping my clients 10x their businesses. And yeah, I just really love it.
I love it. I love it. I really want to dig into your expertise because I know there will be people listening to this who have businesses, have brands, are on social media and are just like, what the fuck? But I would love to start talking about your journey a little bit, I guess, to and through entrepreneurship, because I also really think it's so important for us to share those stories and share the reality behind the curtain. So maybe just starting with what were some significant influences or shaping moments in your life?
Oh my God. In my life? Like, oh, the first one, it just comes to mind because I just shared this story on Instagram, which is where we live. We're on there every single day. But, you know, for me, getting pregnant was a huge, I mean, arguably the most important thing that's ever happened to me. And at the time, the most devastating, detrimental, my life is fucking over, my business is done. And
Mhm.
yeah, it was everything. At the time, Elixir was a few years, we were a few years, and I was struggling. I mean, on a whole nother level. And I think sometimes I realized that obviously as people and as business owners and just as even employees, right? We all define hustle differently. But I'm like, oh no, I was hustling. Eyes open till eyes closed. Client texts me at 11:30 at night, I'm getting out of bed and going downstairs and getting on my computer
Mhm.
And I was doing everything that I knew how, which at that point I thought was a significant amount, because I had had so much success flipping other people's businesses. So I was like, what's going on? Why can't I grow this on my own? And I was sleeping on a mattress. I remember being like 4 months pregnant, and I would roll over and literally be on my hands and knees because the mattress was on the floor. And I remember sitting there and just like bawling every day because I was like, there goes my dreams. Now I'm going to quote unquote just be a mom, because in my life I didn't have a lot of examples of women who were thriving, like really living, thriving, having this whole like luscious life of their own, and were a mother. Like in my world growing up, if you were a mother, your entire life was your children. Being a mom was your entire identity. I really fell into the first depression of my life. And then it just so happened, funny little fate, funny little universe, funny God, that the day I found out I was pregnant, I had put down and paid to go to a retreat, which I had never done before, with a woman who I had no idea who she was. I literally got an email funnel and they said retreat and they were going to help you scale to 6 figures. And I was like, okay, I'm in, cleared out my savings. That was my money. And then I found out I was pregnant. I remember until the day I went, my husband was like, you should really go. And I was like, this is just crazy to go right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pregnant. We don't have any of our life figured out. We're sleeping on a fucking mattress. Like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make it? And I remember him saying to me, if you go, there's no way you don't succeed. And I remember that moment of just, I had no hope. And the light in which he saw me in felt so unreal. And I just was like, this is a smart man, Okay, right? It's already paid for, fine. I'll go. And I went and it changed my fucking life. And within, I think, 3 months of that, for the first time, I was stuck at 40K a year, hustling my ass off, doing everything I could. Within 3 months, I hit 6 figures, something I'd been trying to do for years at that point. And then in another year, we hit multiple 6 figures. And we've basically, a little bit more than doubled ever since, which has been, crazy, wild. The type of growth that is very illogical, I'll say.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that story. And I think that's probably something that resonates with so many people, that if you don't have the role models, right? That's part of why I started doing these conversations. If you don't know people who have done what you want to do, or who are in your context doing what you want to do, it is so much harder. And I love that you were able to borrow your husband's belief in you until you could believe in yourself.
Yeah. So I really think that right there, what you just said, is really underplayed and really undervalued. And maybe I think that for me, because I wasn't exposed to the entrepreneur world, like my parents weren't entrepreneurs. I didn't know anybody who owned businesses. I grew up very poor, and look at business and really at life like a hallway of doors. And all of these doors are different colors, different shapes, different materials, right? And they all have their own key. And so much of life, I think, going through it is figuring out, okay, how can I get the key to open this door? But here's what I found is that most people actually have a master key. One that when they figure out what it is, it can open every single one of these doors. That on the other side of it is something that they want to achieve. And for me, my master key is exposure. If I can surround myself with the women who are already doing the thing I want to do in the way that I want to do it, because that's everything to me, right? I get there like that, period.
Yeah. I think there's also something you said, growing up without money, there are associations and assumptions. And I know for myself, when I got my first job out of my MBA and I was suddenly making 6 figures, I didn't know what to do. Like I was a hard worker already, and I was a hustler, and I had really been drilled into me that like the value of hard work. But suddenly I didn't have to struggle for money. I didn't have to worry about paying my rent. I didn't need anyone to co-sign to be able to get an apartment. And I just worked a million times harder because I just thought I go back and I've tried to figure it out. And I think there is sometimes we will do ourselves a disservice. Like we will work so hard for a survivable amount of money that like we don't even understand what it could be like to have more than we need and not be working from sun up to eyes open to eyes closed, which your example resonated with me because I used to get out of bed for clients when I was in consulting. I used to pick up the phone at 1 a.m. if a client called and spend an hour because they were thinking and they couldn't sleep. So I might as well do an hour on the phone and then some work. So I think there's also influences of like how we grow up and how we understand money and time.
Yeah. I had to write like this down because I was like, oh my God, you're saying good things. I know that you and me, Alex, like our conversations, we can sit here and for 8.5 hours because it's just so good. But something you said, oh yeah, we this almost God, like that lie. That's how I see it. The lie, right? Of if you want to get somewhere, it takes hard work.
Yeah.
God damn it. God damn it. One of the worst lies I'd ever been told, and I ate that shit up with a silver fucking spoon. You know what I mean? And I really believed it. And we will, right? We'll hustle till we die, really is what it is. And we'll burn out and we'll burn out and we'll burn out and we'll come again and then we'll hustle and then we'll burn out again. We're like, why is this not working? Why can I only get this much? For me, it was always like, what? I know I am fucking amazing at what I do, period. So why is it that this person over here is making millions and I am struggling so much? Why not me? Right? And like you said, like the way that I see it is there's glass ceilings that are put there for us by the lovely society, by the patriarchy, by all the things. And then what I realized is there's a glass box that we put ourselves in. That one is often the hardest, right? To me, it's even harder than the ones that other people put above us. And yeah, that line right there is one of those really thick ass glass ceilings, right? Just
Absolutely.
one. And I think that the biggest mistake that people can make in entrepreneurship is doubling, right? They think, oh, okay, I want to grow, so I just need to put in more effort. I just need to work harder. I just need to do this thing more, right? This thing right here is working for me, so I'm going to double it because I want double the income, double the results, double the revenue. And God, if we follow that, like I said, we're just going to work ourselves into the ground. And one thing that really came from me hustling 24/7 was when I realized when I got pregnant, and then once Violet came, my daughter came, everything changed and everything became so clear for me. And I just hit that point where I said, absolutely fucking not. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this anymore.
I mean, obviously agree with you.
Right? If this is a sacrifice it takes to be an entrepreneur, to make money, I want to. I want out. I'm a very smart woman. I have an incredible economic and business degree. I can make whatever amount of money. I'm out. So I really decided, okay, if I'm not available to hustle 24/7, how much am I actually available to work? And for me, that's 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
I work 4 days a week.
Yeah. I love that.
For me, like I has to go on vacation every month, which is not available for anything else, right? But you start to really, once you, I think, start to release all of these, like I said, glass ceilings that other people put over your head, you start to create your own, which are much further. And then to me, that's when the magic really starts, right?
Yeah. I think, I love what you're saying. And I think there's a saying, which is like, what got you here won't get you there. And of course, we're going to work hard. There is hard work. There are periods of hard work, but I love what you're saying because so much of what I do with my clients is helping them to figure out where they're going and then understand what are the things you need to do that move the needle. And in what order do you need to do them? And therefore, what's your priority now? And because trying to do all the things and more of all the things is the path to fucking madness, right? It's the path to burnout. And not, and I know you're like a data queen, right? So it's not looking at the metric, not understanding like what actually drives it, right? To your point, okay, I've been doing this and I want more, so let me just do more of all the things. No, that like growth is not linear in that way for the most part, right? And that might be because you need to bring in other people into your team, because you need systems, because you need whatever. And I think what you said about also being great is something that a lot of us, and this is something I uncovered in my journey working with various people, is it's almost not okay to just be good at something. Like it's this, you have to work hard. You have to show your work. And I remember as I was unpacking this for myself, it went all the way back to even in school. I was really good at math and I just knew. And I would get feedback on my tests where it was like, oh, you got the bonus question, but you didn't show your work, or you didn't do it the way we taught you to do it. And so no, but, and this is not to toot my own horn, but I was really fucking good with numbers. And I just knew I didn't have to do the step. Like my brain just did it, but that was so not okay. And I remember, you know, here my mom telling me is that when I was older, how much I used to hide that I was smart. Like I graduated in top whatever percent and got called up at graduation. And the classmate beside me was like, oh, I didn't know you were smart. And apparently I was fucking thrilled that I just had managed to hide so much of who I was, because standing out didn't feel safe. Just being great wasn't safe. You had to grind and work hard and overcome everything. And that was then how that was the template I had for living lives. I think a lot of us have that. And that, like you said, it creates those glass boxes. Curious, yeah, you mentioned flipping underperforming stores for Michael Kors. And I know you went on to do that for a ton of other companies early on in your career. How did you get into it?
I had the right boss. I'm just gonna be really honest and really transparent about it. I grew up in a military Asian household. Self-worth was very much equated to how much you got done, to how productive you were, right? And which is most of us. It's not just Asians, obviously. It's not just military, but I feel like that just gives people an idea of the household I grew up in, which makes sense about why I am the way I am. I'm the polar opposite of all of that. And, so I've always been a hustler. I've always been a grinder. I've always loved working. I just have. And when you have those traits, you do well. And of course, people see that in you. And then you're also charismatic and you're also smart. So I rose in the corporate world, corporate retail world very quickly. I got recruited just as a part-time sales associate. And then within a few months, I was full-time. And then a few months, I was a manager. And then a few months after that, it really only took me 2 years. I worked for them for 2 years after I started as a part-time sales associate before they were flying me up and down the East Coast to underperforming stores. And yeah, and then I would have about 3 weeks on the ground and I would always make it a goal. They were always in the red, you know, they were always underperforming. And I would make it a goal that by the time I left, they would be a top performing store in the country. And yeah, and I was very successful at it. But, in the end, it was someone who saw all of our favorite word, the potential in me, saw that I was a hard worker. And I remember sitting down to dinner with her at the time, and she just was so incredible. To date, one of the best bosses I've ever had. Not because of anything more than she didn't leave room for me to bullshit. She really had this, what would call now, this elevated version of me in her head, and she would not accept anything less. So I had to rise and rise. And of course, I did, and I did. And I remember sitting at this restaurant, this fancy restaurant with her, because I'm like 21. I had just turned 21 at the time. I'm so young. And I said, why me? I said, we work with so many incredible women who would be so good at this, who have been doing this a lot longer than me. Why did you choose me? I'm young, I'm this, I'm that. And she said, yes, you have all of these things. You're incredible. But she said two main things. Number one, I knew you would say yes, and I knew you would say yes quickly. I thought, damn, okay, I'll dissect that later.
What?
And then thing that she said was, she said, you have this thing where people trust you and they trust you very quickly. And she said, when you're doing a job like this, coming into these locations where these women have been in team for a long time and you've got to come in and you've got to disrupt everything, fire half of them and still get the other half to rally and to elevate and to want to do that after, by the way, when we show up, the store manager leaves. They always leave, right? They quit the same day because they know what's coming. And she said, you walk in there and within a few seconds, they're asking you questions about whether they can trust her, whether they can trust me. And I said, and I was like, wow, that's so incredible, right? It's always like the things that you don't think, I guess.
Mhm. I love that. So you had a lot of success early on. What was the catalyst for you to start Elixir?
After I had wrapped a contract with the botanical garden in our area who had hired me to flip their wedding department was quite sad. I'll say it was really sad. And we tripled their revenue in I think 8 months. And I had formed from being here where I am now. I had formed all these great relationships with people in the wedding industry because, it was a very boots on ground job. You very quickly, not just put out on social platforms and make a new website, but all of these vendors, hundreds of vendors, we had to convince that this venue that they were used to being like a barbecue and plastic picnic table was now a luxury venue that was charging over 5 times the prices that they were yesterday. We had to convince all these people. I had formed all these really incredible relationships. And when I left there, they started to ask, they were like, hey, we saw the work that you did and we really need help with marketing. And at the time, I thought that's not really my specialty. More on the back end, on the business side, we're looking at packages and offers and all of that stuff. But they said, well, yeah, I know, but can you help that? And look, just like my first boss, I said, sure. Yes.
Love to help.
Weird. I love to help. Yeah. And like I said, it started off, it didn't feel slow. At the time, it felt like fast, but it was just because I was doing so much for pennies, basically. Yeah. And built up over time. Yeah. So in the first couple of years, most of my clients were wedding bakeries and wedding planners and DJs and venues. So it was pretty fun that I got to see the backside of so many businesses across the industry.
I often look at growth, which from the outside can seem, or even for us, seem like not clear, and like how you went from this to that, as like skills stacking, right? So you figure out how to do this, then you learn this, then you learn that, but like eventually you put them all together. So I'm wondering if there are things that you had learned from your time in flipping stores that really helped you get Elixir started, or was it just completely different?
Yes. I was going to say no, but no, in actuality, yes. Yeah. I learned a lot about how people perceive a brand and a company and individuals within that company was so important. And I learned very quickly how do I say this? What makes people loyal to a company.
Yeah.
Right? That you can charge 10 times what anyone else is charging and people will still go with you. That's part of what I learned. Yeah. Flipping these apartments, flipping these stores. And I definitely brought that in, even though in the beginning I wasn't doing business consulting by any means. I mean, I was taking over people's Instagram and Facebook, which felt like a completely different world from what I was doing, but I was still doing it and figuring it out. And it felt really fun and exciting. But yeah, absolutely. Flipping. Yeah. I mean, but all of that, right, pertains to marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Understanding a brand, understanding how you build it, communicate it, deliver on it. Yeah. So, what have you learned so far in entrepreneurship? What's your biggest lesson?
My biggest and favorite lesson right now is being DELULU is the SOLULU.
You always have the best sayings. Being DELULU is the SOLULU. Okay.
Well, I let go, I would say, of one thing I've constantly done that I've done more of and more of, and is a direct contributor to what I call like the miracle growth that we have. Miracle just meaning it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't follow everybody else's growth plan. The way that we've been able to expand and do it so quickly is I've throughout the years let go piece by piece of being tethered to reality.
All right. Expand
You
on
know?
that.
Okay, so for example, I used to get so upset. I used to I would cry. I'm a very sensitive soul. So I would cry when I would tell other people about my dreams, about like, "Oh God, wouldn't it be crazy if like we did this? Oh, I would love to do that one day." And then whether they were my friends or other colleagues in business, other women in business, and they would tell me like that's who's gonna pay for that? Who's gonna do that? No, that's not the way that you should do it. No, this is that. And I used to get so frustrated with that. And it used to leave me feeling really raw and sensitive. And these people didn't believe in my dreams. And then I realized that, oh, in their reality, it can't be done. They're
Right.
right. Right. In their version of reality, what I'm talking about, it's so far from realistic. And once I started to let go of that piece by piece, other people's reality, what's the logical thing to do? What's the thing to do that makes sense? And just really started to dream, like really dream bigger and really dream and start living in this completely delusional world where anything is possible, right? Where I get hell yeses in circumstances where I should always get a no. Once I started to spend more time in that space, in that mental capacity, I mean, that's when we started to go beyond the 2x growth every year.
Wow.
You know?
I love that.
Yeah.
What's been, I guess, along that, obviously 2x2 or more growth is amazing growth, amazing moment, milestones. Are there any special moments or memorable milestones where you felt like you made it or you really achieved something special?
Oh, yeah. I feel like I have those feelings every single day. I very genuinely do. Like, I will look at like my team all the time and be like, can you believe that this is our life? Can you believe it? People are paying us to travel the fucking world. People are coming in from all over the world to spend a week with us in Portugal and work on their business and to be in the sisterhood and to explore other countries. This is so fucking crazy. And oh, and by the way, this is doing business. I think like that those are the moments to me that really I feel the most. Wow, I've done something amazing. I've created something amazing is when we go again, what I would say like the majority of the world sees as this is what work is.
I love that. So, on the other side of that, what has been one of the hardest lessons or what do you just not love about entrepreneurship?
Oh, what do I not love about entrepreneurship? I don't know. I love this shit so much.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, and I wish I had something. I genuinely do because I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want to be that asshole. That I just love it all. And it's not at all because I think it's easy. And but I know that without the low lows, I wouldn't have the high highs. So I'm not
100% agree with you
I'm
on that.
not willing to just be like, "Oh, I only like the highs. I only like the easy parts. I only like the good part." Right? Because without
No.
all of the other stuff, they wouldn't be there. So I can tell you a lot about what's tricky and what's hard and what feels sticky and what's fucking challenging. I'll tell you all of those things, but I don't really know that it serves me
Yeah.
to have a distaste for something that literally without it, things wouldn't be as amazing as they are.
100%. That's totally fair. So, one of the things that I often work with my clients on is when you're growing, you go from doing something, and as you grow a company, you have to do all the things. And then to move into your leadership, it's almost like a regression, except you're not going back to what you used to do. You're shaping this new role and starting to hive off the things that you shouldn't be doing yourself. Right. And I think as a company grows, that can happen as well. And so I'm wondering from your point of view, I know that you have recently made a really big change. You went from full service marketing, as you said, after flipping stores, you created an agency, and I know you worked with huge companies. And when you and I met, you had recently shut that down and you were no longer doing full service marketing, engagement management, community management, like all of that. And you really honed in on this reels creation, content creation strategy and coaching. But you've told me, assuming this is like public knowledge, you aren't doing the reels anymore. And part of the reels was that you and your team were traveling to people almost every week. And that was a huge part of what you wanted, and you built that, and then you've suddenly stopped doing that. So that transition, that tapping into what you want to do, what as like the best opportunities in the market, how you evolve your business, letting things go is really hard. So can you speak to, I think what you said to me was like, you got over it, which I love. Like, oh, I'm over that and I'm doing this. But like,
It's just making us multiple six figures a year.
right. Like, how do you let go of something that brought you to where you are? I think that's so important for people to understand.
Yeah. And this is something that when you haven't hit your goals yet, you're used to, just in general, we're used to letting go of things that don't work. Right? That's easy. This doesn't work. I'm not doing it anymore. Yeah. Where the real challenge is can you let go of something that is working so fucking, that took you years to build, that you put your heart and soul into, and is working like a well-oiled machine that honestly doesn't even require your time anymore. Because my team was traveling every week, not me. I really had minimal to do with it. I built a very incredible, like what I do best, right? And then the thing is, I got to a point last year when we had built the business to 7 figures, and that was a huge goal. I never in my life, I'm coming from being a kid who, like, going to Burger King once a month was a treat. So I never in my life thought that I would be a part of something like this, let alone own the damn thing. I hit that goal, and in a lot of ways, up until I decided to close that department, I started to think it was the worst thing that happened, which sounds really stupid and it sounds really arrogant, but it's the truth. Because a fire died in me, to be like, it really did. I felt the fire die because I was running off of this certain type of fuel that was proving that I could do it.
Right.
Proving to everyone else, proving to myself. I did all these things that you guys said I could never do. And when I hit 7 figures, I felt flat. When I lost that fire in me in a little bit, I'm so into the feminine. So I was like, oh, I just need to surrender. I just need to lean back, let things happen. And because I built such an incredible business, things continued to. And I didn't feel that fire anymore. And I kept thinking, well, I'm just not dreaming big enough. I need to go bigger. What is it? Is it 8 figures? Is it 9 figures? What do we need to do? And I felt nothing, which is very unlike me. And I realized just a few months ago that it's because my expansion was not in the more. In actuality, my expansion was in the shed of letting it go. And again, I think when you hit your goals, when you have this incredible growth that you never thought that you would have before, that's the real challenge in business is, can you let go of what's already working? It's easy to let go of what's not. Can you let go of what is, to create room for something bigger, to open up for more possibilities? And that's a huge risk, right? A huge financial risk, a huge risk for my team. I have had people on my team who have been with me for 4 or 5 years at this point, who have seen Elixir through all of it, who have grown with it. And overnight, I decided this. And for me, once I see it, it has to be. So I sat down with my team and I said, hey, this is where I'm going. This means that we're going from a 6 full-time person team to 1.5. And that is something that for me, I care so deeply about my people. Of course, otherwise they wouldn't be with me for years and years. And in a lot of ways, that was my worst fear for a long time as a leader of this company, was letting go, right? Or letting go of my people, my family, my Elixir family. And so, yeah, it's a huge risk in every single way. But, I don't know that you can really achieve greatness without risk.
Absolutely not.
No. And for me, it became so clear when it's okay, what's the bigger risk? Taking this risk and failing, or staying exactly where you are?
Mm.
And for me, that's always the more terrifying thought is like, in 10 years, I'll be exactly where I am today. No matter how much I love myself, no matter how much I love my life, like I always want to grow. I think it's one of the most powerful thing about us women, right? Like we can be so
Mm.
gratitude and still continue to want more, to desire more, to crave more.
I love that. So what is the focus and specialization that you guys are working on now? What are you helping clients with?
Yeah, we're still marketing based and really we're still really doing what we've been doing all along. And that's helping women grow their companies online and in a way that feels easy to them. In a
Mhm.
way that feels easy, in a way that is so, I like to say, soulfully aligned with who you are, like creating strategy that lights you up so you can't wait to share it. Versus what most of us are doing, right? Like trying to make sure that we're following the algorithm and making sure we check off these boxes and we're like, oh God, I've got to post again today. Like my goal is that no one ever feels that way about her business, right? That he really shows up, right? With this just pure audacity to fucking be herself 100%, to do business the way that feels good to her and say fuck the rest.
I love it. I mean, I've heard you talk about ease and anti-hustle, and even in this conversation,
Mhm.
you also, I think recently said something like, here's what I know for sure. Random posts get random result, right? So I love that you just said strategy. That's my favorite word. Um, and you said ease and anti-hustle, which is like my lifelong goal. Uh, so what is, I guess, what's the secret, or what's most important in setting up a marketing strategy, particularly when we're looking at social media, which does change and all the time?
What's the secret?
Or what is one,
Sorry, ask me one more time. What's the secret to setting up your social media strategy?
when we're talking about strategy, is I'm curious if there are some tips or some things that are really important to understand about the strategy, but also what is the secret to the ease and anti-hustle? Because I think a lot of people could go find an online template for strategy, and that, to your
Yeah.
point, they could set it up and they could execute it, and it might not represent them well, and it might take them 5 hours a day. And
Yeah. Okay, 2 things. I'm like, "Okay, I've got it now." And so I was like, "Oh, I got it." Number 1, I think that a lot of people look at strategy in a very linear way, just like they look like most things. And, to me, strategy is best approached like a buffet. I'm a foodie, you know what I mean? I'm always
oh,
thinking about
same.
food.
Food and sports, every
Look,
analogy.
you and I, Alex, we know how to eat. That is one thing I know about us. Give us a beach, give us a chair, give us a nice little man coming and bringing our food to us.
Constant supply of food.
Leave us alone. We're good. No, yeah. So I always tell my clients, like, okay, we're no longer going to be looking at strategy like a checklist, right? Like this thing that has jailed us into how we have to show up. Instead, right, I look at strategy like a buffet, right? That, yes, like I love to learn, right? I love to hear other perspectives. To me, like variety truly is the spice of life in every way possible. So instead of following these hard rules that we have to abide to, can we slowly collect strategies one by one,
Mm.
right? And put them all in front of us. We have them all around us. And before we start to follow anything, we check in with ourselves and say, ooh, what would feel really good to do right now? What would be an easy way to show up? Okay, often we go to, okay, we know how, right? Or we think we know how. So let me do the 100% version because that's how we should show up. But in reality, I'm like, no, what's that 1%? Right? If today I asked you, what would it look like to show up just 1% today? What would you say? And then once you have that answer, then you just look at your buffet and say, okay, I'm going to do this one thing. And I really want to, it'll feel really good to get more views today. Okay, go to your buffet, pick which one feels good to you right now, just one, and add that one thing in. And if you feel complete, boo, we're complete. Put that out, right? Leave the rest for tomorrow. Or if you tried that one and tomorrow you're like, oh, I want to try something different, then try something different. You know what I mean? Don't like really tune into yourself and don't throw away something because it isn't working, right? Just put it back in the buffet for another time. And I think by looking at strategy that way, it starts to change our relationship with it, is really what it is, right? From going from this very like intimidating thing, let's just be real, right? Because like most people are very intimidated by strategy, right? Most people are very intimidated by the math class, right?
Right.
So it really is about changing your relationship. And once you do that, you can really start to show up in a different way. And 9 times out of 10 with a lot more confidence.
Yeah. Right. I think that's one of the things whenever I watch you, it's the confidence that you show up with and like I said at the beginning, I just love your energy. Like you're just you and you has changed over time and you're okay with that. And you share that. And I think a lot of people often feel, and understandably, right, the rise of professional content creators, the quality and production value of a lot of content that we consume is outrageous in a good way. But is I think something I've seen you talk about a lot is breaking down the preconception or misconception that you have to be putting out something of that production value to be relevant to get your message across.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah.
My thing is, if you want to, because it excites you, then let's fucking go, bro. Right? I mean, like I said, I built an entire company off of media production. And I was one of the last conversations I had with one of my favorite clients. I love her. She flew us internationally and she just was such a great time, always down for anything. I really admire her a lot. And she said to me, she left me a little voice note and she said, Christina, she said, if I'm being honest, she said, I'm just not in a place where I need this anymore. She said, my audience will buy if I'm laying on the couch with no makeup on. And I responded back to her and she's, I hope that doesn't offend you, blah, blah, blah. I said, not at all. I said, I don't think anyone actually needs this. I never thought that anyone needed this. It was just something fun to do. It was a way to bring fun and ease into the marketing. For me, that's what it was always about. But I think when you have strong messaging and you are magnetizing versus chasing, and you, like we said, you have this confidence in what you do because you're good at it. I'm like, people will come, but it's not about production value. I see so many people out here making fucking million, taking the same, laying on the couch, triple fucking chin, one eyelash hanging off. It really is. There are people who want that, and those are never going to be my people. People who want the high production value. Yeah, and that's okay. There's still millions of people who want the real, who are really attracted to people who aren't trying to be perfect. They're just trying to be themselves. And I think that right now is a stronger strategy, honestly, than any type of high production value.
I love that. I'm wondering, social media is known to be a bit of a fickle mistress, friend of the day. What is moving the needle these days? Is there a trend that you are seeing that you would say people should have a look at? Do you even have to stay on top of trends? Is that important?
The answer to the trend question is no. Again, my answer to most things, my initial answer is going to be like, if it lights you up, then sure, yeah, do it. Otherwise, I don't really think that we have to do anything. But I do think that when you look across the industries and you look at companies who are absolutely fucking killing it and women who are absolutely fucking killing it, there's some consistencies. And the biggest one I can tell you right now that comes to the top of my head, because there's a few. The biggest, the number one right now is storytelling.
Mm.
Especially if you are a small business or a solopreneur, A founder story these days will get you so fucking far. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you what. And it's something like storytelling is something that I think when we talk about the size of companies, the billion-dollar companies, the multi-billion-dollar companies, they've understood it from the beginning that they
Mhm.
needed a story, right? They've understood from the beginning that human beings as a species, we pass down information, we remember and retain. And that's really what this is. We remember and retain information through storytelling, whether it's been drawings on caves, around fucking campfires, in TVs and commercials, on social media now.
Mhm.
So having a strong storytelling presence in your marketing right now, like, I don't have a single client who doesn't have it, because it's the first thing I make sure that we do, because if there's one thing that we see really fucking moving the needle and making a huge impact, it's that.
I love it. All right, I want to be mindful of time. We try to keep things rolling. So, as we're wrapping up, what is next for Elixir?
Oh my god. The great unknown. We have so much goodness coming up. We just launched a new membership a couple of months ago called Femme Audacity, and it's all about bringing women in. I think that in our world, like, let's just say it, men have all the audacity, and it's time for women to start having some too. To having radical self-belief, right? Unwavering faith in self, showing up and being 100% themselves. And that's what this membership is all about. And it's $99 a month, and you get, I'm not even gonna tell you all the value, but there's, I think, over 30K worth of value in it. And it's really, yeah, what's lighting me up these days is having so many incredible women who maybe aren't fully ready to work with me in a one-on-one capacity. They're not fully ready to join my mastermind yet. They wanna dip their toes and they still wanna stay plugged into the magic. And that's what the membership is for. So we have that. We have our international retreat, business marketing restoration retreat in South Africa coming up in May, which I love them. I love in person so much. I love getting to spend a week with women. I like to explore a country together, to have a chef make every single one of our meals, to workshop together, to build our business while on vacation. I'm like, tell me something better. Yeah, so that's coming up in May. Yeah. And who knows what in between.
Yeah, who knows? You are amazing at like coming up with an idea and running with it. I've seen you do it. I'm so excited to check out Femme Audacity. I'm going to jump in for at least a few months and just back in your energy. I miss you. So I'm excited.
Me too.
We've covered a lot of ground. Your journey has a lot of evolutions. If you could summarize a piece of advice, either for younger Kristina or just for anyone on their entrepreneurial journey today, what would it be?
Oh, man. Just that it doesn't have to be so hard. If I could go back and tell 4 years ago me, 5 years ago, what, 30 years ago me, but no, but really me in entrepreneurship before I figured that piece out, that, yeah, it doesn't have to be so hard.
Love it.
Um,
All right, we have a few rapid fire questions just to let people get to know you beyond the
I
business chat we've been having. You can hit pass on any of them. The first one, and you've spoken to this a little bit, but is there an experience that changed your life?
Oh, this is rapid fire?
Yeah.
Well, this would be yes, no, one word answers.
You can expand a little bit, but it's just what comes to mind. Is there something that like flipped the switch for you?
Terrible when Violet was born. I don't know,
Yeah,
that one just is so
absolutely.
alive for me right now.
I think you covered that really well. So it's
Yeah.
100%. What does the word strategy mean to you?
Sexiness? It really does. But I think strategy, I'm like, "Oh, that's sexy." I fucking love strategy. Strategy, yeah, strategy to me is play. It's dipping our toes in. It's playing to see what works and what doesn't, and, "Oh, okay, a part of this is working. Now let's, like, fill in the holes." I don't know, it's just a very sexy play to me.
I love it. Just the way you described that was like, whoop. Uh, Is there a book you read that changed your perspective on anything?
God, so many. First one that pops in my head is The Art of Gathering. I absolutely love that book. It made me really think about the way that I created containers and the containers that I structured and built to hold people, and everything from like retreats to even working with one-on-one private clients to, of course, membership. It has elevated everything that I do in every way. I love it.
Amazing. I love that. That's a new one. We haven't heard that one before.
Yeah.
Last question. If you could go to any concert tomorrow, touring or not, dead or alive, what would it be?
It would be insane.
Mm.
Me think, and I would be in the front fucking row. Oh my God, I would die.
Are they still a band? I don't know. I remember them.
I feel like they're going to be announcing a tour soon. I mean, like, when was the last time
Spice Girls come back?
20 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a bit.
That's what I mean. The Spice Girls came back. So
The Backstreet Boys come back. So time.
All
It's
right.
time, Justin.
If anybody could call this in, I feel like it's you. So I feel like you planted a seed. I love that. All right, Kristina, thank you so much for your time, for your sharing, for your energy, for the tips that you've given for those listening. If people want to know more about you, follow you, continue the conversation, what's the best way to end?
So I live on Instagram at Elixir Media Co. And yeah, that's really the best way.
I love it. Perfect. At Elixir Media Co. on Instagram. We'll make sure it's in the show notes. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to connect again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. Our goal is to create connections and inspire conversations about building great companies. So please subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast with your network. Sharing is caring. If you're a business leader or executive team ready to take your leadership and company to the next level with high-performing teams, we'd love to see how we can rocket fuel your growth. Check out the show notes to book your free Builders Business Booster call, where you'll receive a strategic leadership assessment and 3 concrete focus areas to mature and grow your business. You'll also find the link to join the Builders Club to stay up to date on upcoming events, get valuable tools and insights, as well as be the first to receive exciting announcements straight to your inbox. No spam, I promise. You'll also find my website, alexsnyder.com, and all the places to peek my creds, hear what clients have to say, and see if I went to the gym today. And one final note, this podcast is not intended to be legal, tax, or other professional advice. Thanks for joining. We'll catch you on the flip side.